All right, everyone, welcome back to Sip and Talk. You know how we always say we love a good head scratcher?
Oh, yeah.
Well, buckle up because today's topic is a real doozy. We're diving into this idea that it's not the facts, it's what people believe.
Ooh, that's a deep one. I can already tell this is going to be a good one.
Right. It's like you can give someone all the evidence in the world, facts, figures, the whole 9 yards, and they'll still be like, nope, not buying it.
Yeah.
They stick to their beliefs no matter what. It's like, hello, McFly. Anyone home in there?
Well, you know me. I love getting into the nitty-gritty of why things are the way they are. And luckily for us, we have got a whole stack of articles and research right here ready to unpack this whole belief phenomenon.
Perfect. And speaking of unpacking things, for those who might be tuning in for the first time, I'm Joe, your host for this wild ride.
And I'm Sunny, the voice of reason, trying to keep Joe from going completely off the rails, as usual.
Hey, someone's got to do it. But speaking of going off the rails, you're not going to believe what happened to me at the grocery store the other day. I went in for coffee, just coffee, mind you, and I came out with a unicycle.
A unicycle? What are you going to do with a unicycle, Joe?
Honestly, I have no idea. It just looked fun. Kind of like this deep dive, right? You never know what you're going to find.
That's for sure.
All right, so let's jump right into it. This first thing that really stood out to me from all the research is this idea that our beliefs can be like these puppet masters behind the scenes controlling our actions, even when we think we're being all logical and stuff.
It's wild, isn't it? Like, our beliefs are so powerful that they can sometimes overpower facts and logic and even our own best interests.
Oh, absolutely. Like, have you ever heard of the placebo effect?
Yeah, of course. That's a classic example.
Right. So someone thinks they're getting this super powerful medicine, but it's just a sugar pill, a dummy pill.
Right.
But because they believe it's going to work, their body actually starts to heal. Isn't that crazy?
It is. It really shows you just how powerful our minds can be. And it's not just limited to physical healing. Like, if you truly believe you can achieve something, you're way more likely to actually do it, even if it seems kind of impossible.
Oh, for sure. I've totally experienced that with my, let's call it unique dance moves. When I'm on the dance floor, I truly believe I'm the next Michael Jackson.
Oh, Joe.
The reality may be a little different, but hey, at least I'm having fun. Confidence is key.
All right. And speaking of how our minds can play tricks on us, that's a perfect segue into the next part of our deep dive, cognitive biases. You see, our sources talk about how these mental shortcuts we all use, which are usually super helpful in everyday life, can sometimes backfire and make us stick to beliefs that might not actually be true.
Ooh, sneaky little buggers, aren't they? Okay, break it down for me. What are these cognitive biases all about?
So one of the big ones is called motivated reasoning, and it's basically like our brains are trying to protect our precious little beliefs. Even if it means ignoring evidence that says, hey, maybe you're wrong about that, we tend to cherry pick information that supports what we already think, like a lawyer building a case for their client, even if their client's guilty.
So it's like when you're arguing with someone online, and no matter what they say, you just refuse to budge. Like, nope, I'm right and you're wrong, end of story. Even if, deep down, you know you might be a little off base.
Precisely. You're so determined to be right that you block out any information that challenges your view. It's like we all have these invisible belief-tinted glasses that warp how we see the world.
Belief-tinted glasses? I love that. Maybe a funky shade of purple.
Don't worry. We all have them. And then there's another bias called the illusory truth effect, which is basically all about repetition. The more we hear something, whether it's true or not, the more we tend to believe it. It's like our brains are wired to think, well, if everyone's saying it, it must be true, right?
It's like that whole repeat a lie often enough and it becomes the truth kind of thing. Propaganda 101, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And it's why those catchy jingles and slogans and advertising work so well. Even if the product's just so-so, hearing that slogan over and over can make you start thinking, hey, maybe it really is the best.
I totally fell for that with those guaranteed to grow hair gummies. Still waiting for that miracle to happen.
Oh, Joe.
But hey, at least they tasted good.
We've all been there. Seriously, though, these biases, they're everywhere, lurking in the shadows of our minds, ready to trip us up. It's like a mental obstacle course we have to navigate.
Okay, so how do we even begin to protect ourselves from these mental gremlins?
It feels kind of hopeless. It's not hopeless, Joe, I promise. The first step is just being aware that they exist. Like, now that you know about those hair gummies, maybe you'll be a little more skeptical of those kinds of claims next time, right?
True. Forewarned is forearmed, as they say. Okay, but let's get real for a second. Our sources go into some pretty serious real-world examples where this whole belief over facts thing has some major consequences. We're not just talking about hair gummies here.
Oh, absolutely. This is where things get a little heavy.
So let's jump into it.
Let's. Like climate change denial, for example.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
We've got tons and tons of scientific evidence, like mountains of it, showing that we humans are having a real impact on the climate.
Right.
But there are still folks out there who just refuse to accept it. It's like their beliefs are these like shields deflecting all those facts.
And it's not just outright denial anymore, is it? Like climate change is a hoax, that sort of thing.
Right.
The sources we've been looking at, they mention how some politicians are like shifting tactics.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of saying climate change isn't happening, they're trying to make the science seem less certain than it is.
Exactly.
Like picking and choosing data that supports their view, or making a big deal about tiny uncertainties.
It's almost like they're trying to build this case for inaction by making the science seem like it's still up for debate, which it really isn't.
Right. And meanwhile, the planet's like, hey guys, little help over here.
I know, it's so frustrating.
It's scary, honestly. It's like we're talking about the future of our planet here. Like, how can someone's belief be so strong that it outweighs the survival of, well, everything?
It's mind-boggling, isn't it? And it's not just climate change. We see this belief over facts thing playing out in other areas, too.
Like where?
Take the anti-vaccine movement, for example.
Oh, yeah.
We've got all this evidence showing that vaccines are safe and effective.
They're like lifesavers.
Right. But some people are just so convinced of these alleged dangers that they refuse to vaccinate themselves or their kids.
Yeah, that was especially concerning because it's not just about individual beliefs anymore. It's about public health.
Exactly.
When enough people don't get vaccinated, all these diseases that we thought we'd like kick to the curb can come roaring back.
It's like we're going back in time and having to fight these battles all over again.
It's wild, right? I mean, think about how much progress we've made with vaccines.
Oh, so much.
But all that progress can unravel so quickly when fear and misinformation take hold.
And unfortunately, social media just makes it so much easier for that to happen. It creates these like echo chambers where people just see information that confirms their existing beliefs.
Yeah, it's like you're stuck in this bubble where everyone's agreeing with you, so you never have to question your own perspective, even if your perspective is, based on stuff that's just totally not true.
And that's the danger.
Our sources even talk about the 2016 U.S. presidential election as like a case study in how misinformation and beliefs can have a real impact on something as important as, well, who runs the country?
Oh, absolutely.
Remember all those crazy stories that were going around?
Oh, yeah.
Like that one about Hillary Clinton running a child trafficking ring out of a pizza place?
Pizzagate.
Pizzagate. Like, how does anyone even believe that?
I know, it's insane.
But it went viral. And some people took it as gospel truth, even though there wasn't a shred of evidence to support it.
It just shows you how a good story, even if it's completely made up, can have this incredible power to capture people's imaginations and influence their beliefs.
That's not just politics. It's everywhere. You see it with conspiracy theories, health fads, all sorts of stuff. It makes you wonder if beliefs can be so powerful that they override facts in these, like, high-stakes situations. Is there any hope?
I mean, it can feel pretty overwhelming sometimes, right?
Yeah. It's like, are we just doomed to be ruled by misinformation and conspiracy theories?
I wouldn't say doomed, Joe.
Okay, good.
But it definitely means we have to be extra vigilant, more critical than ever before about the information we're consuming and the beliefs we're forming.
So what can we do? Give me some hope here.
Okay, so our sources, they actually offer some potential solutions for navigating this, like, messy information landscape.
I like solutions.
So.
Okay, lay them on me.
So one of the biggies is media literacy. It's basically like becoming an information detective.
Ooh, I like that.
You got to learn how to critically evaluate sources, look for signs of bias, separate facts from opinions.
Like, don't just believe everything you read on the internet.
Exactly.
Revolutionary, I know.
It's a skill we all need to develop in this digital age where information is coming at us from all directions all the time.
So we need to be skeptical, but not, like, cynical.
Right.
Like, approach information with a healthy dose of curiosity and a critical eye.
That's the sweet spot, Joe.
Okay, I can dig that. What else?
Another big one is supporting science education.
Oh, yeah, science.
The better we understand scientific principles and how science works, the less likely we are to fall for pseudoscientific claims or those, like, cherry-picked data points that are designed to mislead us.
Right. It's like understanding science gives you this superpower to see through the BS.
Exactly.
You can spot those logical fallacies from a mile away.
You're like, nope, not falling for that one.
Exactly. Okay, so we've got media literacy, science education. Anything else?
Oh, yeah, we can't forget about those amazing fact-checking warriors out there.
Fact checkers, they're the best.
Right. Supporting independent fact-checking organizations is so crucial. They're the ones who are actually digging into the claims, verifying information, and calling out BS when they see it.
They're like the referees of the information game.
I love that analogy, Joe.
Making sure everyone's playing fair and keeping things honest. We need those referees now more than ever.
We do. But okay, enough with the serious talk for a minute. You know what always helps me relax and clear my head after, diving into all this heavy stuff?
Ooh, let me guess. Micky's YouTube channel.
You know it. Music is my therapy, and Micky's got the best playlists for, chilling out and escaping the information overload.
Oh yeah, Micky's the man. His taste in music is impeccable. Always finding those hidden gems that you never would have discovered on your own. We'll definitely put a link to his channel in the show notes for everyone to check out.
Awesome.
But okay, back to our regularly scheduled deep dive. We've talked about how our beliefs shape our actions, those sneaky biases that mess with our thinking, and some real-world examples of how this whole belief over facts thing plays out.
Right.
But now I'm curious, why are beliefs so darn resistant to change?
Oh, that's a great question.
Even when we're confronted with evidence that contradicts our beliefs, why do we sometimes just dig in our heels even harder? It's like we're programmed to defend our beliefs even when they're wrong.
Yeah. It's not just about logic or lack of information,
So what is it about?
It's about something much deeper. It's about our identities, our values, our sense of belonging.
Okay, that's interesting. Explain that connection.
So think about it. Our beliefs, they're often intertwined with who we are, what we stand for, the groups we identify with. They're part of our worldview, our understanding of what's right and wrong, our place in the world.
So it's like our beliefs become a part of our DNA.
Almost.
It's like if you challenge someone's beliefs, it's like you're challenging their very existence.
It can feel that way, for sure. And that's why those conversations, especially about things like politics or religion, can get so heated so quickly.
Oh, tell me about it.
It's not just a debate about ideas anymore. It's a clash of identities.
It's like those arguments you see online that spiral out of control.
Right.
It stops being about the issue itself and becomes all about defending your tribe, even if it means throwing logic out the window.
You got it.
We're like, my team, right or wrong?
Exactly. It's like we're hardwired to protect our social groups, even if it means holding on to beliefs that might not be accurate or helpful in the long run.
Okay, so if our beliefs are so deeply tied to who we are and where we belong, is there any way to bridge the gap when there's a clash between belief and fact? It seems like an impossible task sometimes.
It's definitely not easy, Joe, but I wouldn't say impossible. This is where empathy comes in.
Empathy. Like putting ourselves in the other person's shoes, even if we think their shoes are, well, a little crazy looking.
Exactly. It's about trying to understand where they're coming from, what experiences have shaped their beliefs, and how those beliefs are connected to their sense of self and belonging. It doesn't mean we have to agree with them,
Right.
but it does mean we need to respect them as human beings with their own unique stories and perspectives.
Okay, I can see that. So instead of attacking someone's beliefs, we try to understand the human story behind those beliefs. Like we see the person, not just the ideology.
Exactly. And by doing that, we might actually find some common ground, even if it's just a little sliver.
It's like finding that one tiny thread
Yeah.
that connects us even across these huge divides.
And who knows, we might even learn something new about ourselves in the process. But you know what? Before we get too deep into that, you know what always helps me process all this heavy stuff?
What's that?
Distraction.
Oh, I know where this is going. Micky's channel. We'll drop a link in the show notes for anyone who needs some sonic soothing after this deep dive.
Awesome.
But, okay, back to the matter at hand. We've talked about how beliefs shape our actions, those sneaky biases that can trip us up, and some real-world examples of how this whole belief over facts thing plays out.
Right. I don't think it's hopeless. I truly believe we can find a way to bridge the divide, to build a more informed and empathetic society, even with all the challenges we're facing. Willingness to step outside your own little bubble and really engage with different perspectives.
Okay, that's a good challenge.
What else?
I think it's also about being willing to call out misinformation and harmful beliefs when you encounter them.
Yeah, you can't just let those slide, right?
Yeah.
You got to speak up and set the record straight.
Exactly. But it's important to do it in a way that's, respectful, informative, focused on the facts.
So no shaming or getting into those heated arguments that go nowhere.
Right. It's about approaching those conversations with a cool head and a genuine desire to, share accurate information and promote understanding. It's like saying, hey, I see where you're coming from, but I also wanted to share this information with you because I think it's important. Like a gentle nudge in the right direction, not a shove.
Exactly. Nobody likes to be shoved, especially when it comes to their belief.
True. But what about those times when you're like so frustrated by the misinformation out there that it's really hard to stay calm? I mean, gets to me sometimes.
And even angry at times.
Like, come on, people.
I know. But it's important to remember that we're not alone in this fight. We have to support each other, share accurate information, and be those role models for respectful dialogue, even when it's really tough.
It's like we're all in this information jungle together, and we got to help each other find our way through it.
I love that analogy, Joe. We're all information explorers navigating this complex landscape.
Information explorers, I like it. You know what always helps me feel more optimistic and hopeful?
What's that?
Humor.
Oh, yeah. Laughter is the best medicine, for sure.
Maybe we should do a whole episode on the psychology of humor, the power of laughter. What do you think?
Oh, I'm totally in.
Okay, it's settled then.
Laughter it is.
But for now, let's wrap up this deep dive. I feel like we've explored some pretty complex ideas, grappled with some tough questions, and hopefully sparked some new thoughts for our listeners.
It's been quite a journey.
But before we sign off, I think it's important to acknowledge that we've really only just scratched the surface of this whole belief over facts thing.
Oh, for sure. It's a huge topic.
It's like this vast, intricate web, and we've just followed a few threads. So what are some of those unanswered questions, the areas that we didn't have time to really dive into?
Well, one area I think deserves more attention is the role of technology in all this.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
Like, how are all these algorithms, personalized news feeds, and the constant barrage of information we're exposed to every day, how is that shaping our thinking and influencing our beliefs?
Right. Like, are we just becoming slaves to the algorithm?
It's a real concern. And then there's the question of, like, can we harness the power of technology for good in this context?
Right.
Can we use it to promote critical thinking, combat misinformation, and encourage more informed and constructive dialogue?
Yeah, can we turn those algorithms and echo chambers into tools for understanding instead of division?
That's the challenge.
It's a huge challenge. Okay, so technology is one big question mark. That's a wrap, everyone. Thanks for joining us on this wild ride through the world of beliefs, facts, and everything in between. Stay curious out there.